I'm Kim, the Abundant Traveler, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I put out laid-back luxury travel videos inspiring you to buy that plane ticket and get out there and go. Today is my second of a two-part series about the things that are extremely important that you need to know before you take your first trip overseas. The first video was all about things to do in preparation of your trip, and this video has to do with the things to do once you arrive. The first thing is, tying into the last video, make sure that you have your vaccines, your visas for the countries where you're going, and make sure to have extra pages in your passport and at least 6 months left on your passport before it expires. Really important, they won't let you into the country without those things. Once you have your luggage and you've cleared customs, the first thing you want to pull out is your ATM card. It is usually the best exchange rates when you use your ATM. I don't go to the little kiosk where you can exchange money because the rates are terrible and the fees are extremely high. So your ATM is your friend. Next, I do suggest, even if it's a little out of your budget, to take a taxi or an Uber from the airport to your accommodation. There is nothing like being jet lagged, don't know where you're going, first time in a city with all of your luggage and trying to use public transportation or shared transportation. First of all, it takes 3 times as long. Secondly, it's better going door to door. I always take a taxi or an Uber from the airport, even if I intend on using public transportation the rest of my trip. Speaking of public transportation, you definitely want to take time to learn the transportation system. Most transportation systems in large cities like London and Paris, they actually have apps now. So you can download the app, figure out where you're going in advance. That way, when you show up at the subway or the train station, you know where you're going and you know how to get there. Another thing, besides giving yourself time to learn the transportation system, make sure you give yourself some time to jet lag. There is nothing worse than being jet lagged your entire trip because the first night you didn't give yourself a little extra time for a little extra sleep. Usually for jet lag, I do my best to stay up till 9-10 o'clock at night, and then I will take a melatonin and crash until first thing in the morning. A good way to start your trip and get to know the way things work and have a guide and actually get to meet people and keep yourself up if you're jet lagging is to do a food tour the first night. That's usually the first thing that I book when I am going on a trip. I love it because you're eating with people, you're getting to know a group of people, you have a guide, you can ask all the questions about what to do and where to go and who to see and everything like that. And it's a great way to have a great conversation. Food, wine, and people. It's fantastic. Next, we're going to talk about timing and bookings. Make sure to give yourself enough time between traveling different cities that you are not rushed and stressed, and it will give you enough time in the new location to really enjoy what there is to see. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people and they're gonna go to Italy and they're gonna spend 1 day in Venice, then they're gonna take a train and spend 1 day in Rome, and they're gonna take a train and spend 1 day in Florence, and then they're gonna go to the Amalfi Coast, and they're all gonna do it in like 6 days. That is a terrible idea. One, you want to have as much time as possible in each location, and honestly, those trains in between public transportation and trains and cars, it takes longer than you think. Remember, you're the foreigner in these places and you're not used to seeing the roads or the transportation systems. So as a result, it's going to take you just a little bit longer. So think about that when you are making time to get between the different locations. Another thing about timing, do not book every second of every day. It is not worth it. You might not make it back to that country or that city, but don't overbook yourself. Make sure that at least part of every day is free. You may just want to go sit in a cafe, have a coffee. You may be feeling jet lagged that day, or you may meet some interesting people that want to go this way when you have overbooked yourself this way. And I promise that is no fun. New adventures happen when you leave space for them. So when you're making your first trip overseas, you may not be completely comfortable with trying all the local customs and the local food, but I promise you those are some of the most amazing things you'll be doing. I don't recommend necessarily eating all those critters on the at the street stalls in Thailand or something like that, or caterpillars or crickets in Mexico, even though they're really good. but I do suggest that you learn the customs and try the local food. Additionally, before you go, I suggest that you learn some of the tipping customs because it's really nice to help out the local economy in tipping, and I also suggest that you learn a few words in the local language. It's so nice and you'll get so much further if you simply say please and thank you in the local language. So a random tip that my sweet granddad told me long before the days of Instagram was to make sure that you take photos with you in them, and make sure to take photos of you being silly. Those are the photos that you will love most. I promise you may not remember where that beach was or which mountain you were taking a picture of if it's just scenery, but if you're in it and you're being silly, I promise you'll remember exactly where you were. So the next items have to do with being safe while you're traveling. First and foremost, make sure to carry ID with you at all times, but I don't recommend carrying your passport. It's best to leave your passport in the safe at the hotel or the Airbnb, and just take a driver's license or some other form of identification in case something happens to you. I also suggest that you learn the number for 911 in the country that you're visiting. Not every country uses 911. Additionally, hate to say this, but don't drink too much. It is not good if you are unawares when you are out at night with friends or by yourself in a foreign country. So just remember, don't drink too much. Make sure that you are walking with confidence everywhere that you are going while you're traveling overseas. You don't want to be looking down at your phone or wandering about. You want to be walking with confidence. People, thieves, pickpockets, and everything, they will take advantage of anybody that looks like an easy target. Additionally, make sure that your phone has Google Maps or your favorite ways or something like that. You'll always want to have your phone with you to get you from point A to point B when you're walking around. And the final safety tip I have for you is to ask for help. Ask for what you need. You can pop into a store and ask the guy working there. You can ask somebody on the street. Don't be afraid to ask. It will help you in the long run. Additionally, if you feel threatened in any way, my suggestion is that you pop into the nearest store that is lighted with lots of people to keep yourself safe. So, the final tip I have for you are for all of those shoppers out there. Every time I travel, I carry a fold-up duffel bag with me because I love to shop. I'm always buying tchotchkes and linens and everything like that. So, when I travel, I can fill up that duffel bag and I can put all of my wares, everything I bought in there, and I just add it as an extra piece of luggage on my way home. I only paid $25 for that duffel bag, and it folds up into like this, but it opens up like this, which I love. So I hope that you enjoyed my tips today. This is the second in the series of everything that you should know before you go on a trip overseas. Again, I'm Kim, the Abundant Traveler, and I look forward to seeing you in some exotic country very, very soon. Bye. Testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3. Or visiting no. Everybody is out there to enjoy their time. But I do not I don't know what to say next. Make sure that